It's Javon.ca. We are here again, and I can't wait to introduce you to our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Phil St Cyr, the founder of Rootree. Now, this business started maybe by accident, maybe with a little bit of influence from family, but it hasn't grown that way. Now, it's actually grown to take over, I kind of want to say the world, but we're not there just yet. You know what I mean? But they provide packaging, co-packing. What else?
Creative services, film production, and then a few other verticals.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to introduce you to Phil St Cyr, our next guest coming up on 100 Ways to Make 100K. Phil, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I guess I should say thank you for having us, because this is your space, right?
Yeah, but this is your show, so.
It's your show today, man. It's your show today. So Phil just got back from a trip from Japan. He was telling us a little bit about some of the regenerative healing properties of an onset.
Yeah, onsen.
Yeah, onsen.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to try one of these.
Yeah, you'll have to go there and get naked with a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And soak in the hot water, the mineral-rich hot water.
Dude, I can't wait.
Yeah.
So maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the things that you had cooking up before you got naked with a bunch of Japanese people.
Yeah.
I would love to take it back to a little bit about your story. Tell us some of the chapters, like let's say your life were a book.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about some of those chapters that make Phil into the Phil that we're sitting with today.
Okay, break it down for you by chapter. So before I started these businesses, if I started there, I lived in Spain, Morocco, and England, basically between those three countries for about 4 years, but predominantly Morocco. And I found myself in Morocco through some travels. I fast-tracked my last year of high school. And
you fast-tracked?
Yeah, I fast-tracked it.
No. Explain to the rest of the people what you mean when you say fast-track exactly.
Yeah, so what that means is basically that we moved a lot. As a kid, we moved a lot. My dad had a job that had us move every couple of years. And grade 12, we moved somewhere. And that was a bit tough for me as a kid.
Okay.
Because you kind of develop your friends here and then know you move. And then I had a really strong circle of friends that lived here in Oakville. And then we moved to Ottawa. And back in those days, my passion was skateboarding.
You can still pop a tray or what?
Yeah, I can still do a few.
You still got it,
yeah,
eh?
I can still do a few things. Right. Yeah, that warehouse there, production facility, is my playground when the lights are
when the lights go dim, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I was basically, I went to the school, I don't know, I think I went to the school counselor and I told him, listen, I either drop out or you guys figure out a better program for me, because I had my eyes on travels. I wanted to get out of there. And they basically said to me something like, do your French or English credit by night, and you can do 600 hours of co-op. And as soon as you do 600 hours of co-op, you're done.
Okay.
So I didn't have to go September into graduation that I did. So I never went to my graduation. So basically they put me as a sound and lighting technician in this theater nearby. And I kind of loved it. The guy I met to this day is a very strong influence on how I see having a great production manager. That guy had a strong influence because he was always very team oriented, checking in on people, making sure everybody had what they needed, and kind of always coming up with a surprise to keep the job fun and to keep people downtime, right?
What were one of those surprises? Like, paint a picture for me. I would love to hear something tangible.
Well, you'd show up to work and then you'd think you're going in for 8 hours, but you went in for 1 hour, and he'd still pay you for the day. And then I didn't get paid, but you still give you the credits for that day, okay, if you will.
Perfect supervisor.
Yeah, basically, or you'd come in and you'd work hard, but he'd give you more, give you more breaks than what you wanted, and he'll feed you at the same time, or you'll realize, hey guys, we're gonna go way over time today, but tomorrow don't bother about coming in. Like, so he had just a good understanding of the morale of the staff.
Wow.
And how to get to that level.
Wow.
But I was fairly young. Just now in the years where we scale up our business, it comes like, that guy was really good, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I did 600 hours. It took me 3 months basically. So I was out of there fast. And
now, was it actually 600 hours or like You had 600 hours.
It was actually over 600 hours.
Okay.
I actually went a little bit over, but it was enough. It was enough to get the diploma. So my parents were happy, and then I went on some travels. I
went to France, right?
Well, no. First trip is I went down to Cuba. So I got into the concept of knowing that there's such a thing as you can crew a ship and you can get kind of room and board type of thing. So I wasn't looking to make an income. I was just looking for a travel experience. And I had 3 options in my mind that I could do. I would go to New Zealand and pick some Kiwis, or I would go to Africa and do some kind of volunteer work, or I would crew this thing. And I said, I'm going to crew this ship. So I found this guy on old school internet of the days. Yeah. Really HTML websites, whatever, go back and forth. The guy says, I need crew on my ship. I have no experience, whatever. He says, well, just come on to Havana on this or this day and whatever. It's all good. I fly down there. I buy my flight. Like no due diligence. Just like
HTML website. I'm going.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, this guy's got a website. He's legit.
Yeah, and this was a forum. It wasn't even his website, right? It was like a forum. All bunch of captains posting where they need crew. But somehow I felt safe enough. I'm like, whatever. So we went down there. I went down there. I flew down there. I get there, and it's quite a peculiar
arrangement.
Yeah, a peculiar guy, but fun enough for a young version of myself to learn something. And but it ended up being that his ship couldn't sail. He was waiting for parts. The ship was the ship was kind of having some technical issues. So I end up I meet some guy on the marina who's also crewing another ship. Anyways, and then we hitchhike a little bit across Cuba, and we discover Cuba a little bit. Fast forward, I end up staying there for something like 2 to 3 months. And then the 2 other people that actually had experience to crew on our ship end up that they can't get a visa to enter the US, which is where we were going. So I end up being the only guy that's crewing the ship with this captain. And anyways, we spend the next, 5 weeks to go from Cuba to the Keys, up the intercoastal waterways, and up to Connecticut, which was his ultimate destination. So we sailed this whole bit and came back up there.
And what was like the purpose of this? Was he on like an expedition to bring something from Cuba to the States? Like, or was he just
I think he made it to Cuba with his ship. I think there's a sticky part about US coming to Cuba. His ship probably broke down, quote unquote, and he's waiting for parts. And then, it was time for him to go back home. He's from Connecticut. Like, at that time, I don't really know. I didn't really care.
You're just trying to get it right.
Yeah, I was just trying to get an experience. So we did that, came back, and then I'm like, I had another friend of mine wanted to go travel. So we said, okay, we're going to go to France. So we flew to France, and the goal was to skateboard France, go to Barcelona. Barcelona is kind of mecca of skateboarding because of the architecture. And so we did that. We went in Paris, and then we went down to Biarritz, and then we hitchhiked across to Toulouse and to Marseille, and then I saw the 2 guys that were supposed to crew with me on the ship in Cuba. They from Marseille. No, I contacted him. He goes, "Oh, come and see me in Marseille." Yeah. So we stayed there a few nights, and then anyways, we go to Barcelona. We rent an apartment. We stayed there for a bit. We skateboard, had a great time. And then eventually I'm like, we're going to hitchhike. And this next destination was 1,000 kilometers south. We wanted to go to Andalusia. So I'm like, this is going to be a hell of a hitchhike, but a couple of young guys, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, let's do it.
Big deal, right? We hitchhike. First guy picks us up. He's going to Andalusia. So we do like 3 days. Perfect. 3 days with him. He drives us down. And basically I get there and we run out of cash somewhere in that.
Yeah. I mean, like, you weren't even working for money at the time, so I could understand
right?
that.
So we were living on pretty
tight budget.
Pretty slim budget at that time. I remember calculating my budget. It was like $6 a day for food, right? That's how it's going to carry us forth. So then I had the bright idea. I'm in Gibraltar. There's got to be ships coming back to Canada. Maybe I can hop on one of those. Or maybe I try to crew this and that. So I'm trying to find a job, trying to see what I can do. And then I'm walking the market one day, and I meet this real peculiar guy. He approaches me, short guy, glasses, British accent. Hey, you guys look lost. What are you doing? This and that. Like, yeah, we explained our situation. He says, I have a farm. He says, if you guys want, you can provide you room and board. You can work, this and that. And then goes the next chapter, the next 4 years of my life.
4 years.
4 years of my life after that with this individual. He became a nutritional science mentor for me. He's the one that got me into the passion of that.
Okay.
He was a nutritional scientist from the UK. He had a great experience in Morocco. He was looking to immigrate to Morocco. He had this farm in Spain that he was using as a kind of in-between spot. Mm-hmm. And basically, over the next 4 years, I kind of lived with him. I learned. I spent a great deal of time researching, learning, reading, doing all these things. And I basically helped him buy, because of the language barrier, because of the French language, I helped him in a way to buy his riad in Marrakech. He wanted to buy a riad, which is like a traditional Moroccan home. And then we basically ended up staying in that riad, and then stayed in Morocco for that period of time. So that's those 4 years were kind of solidifying that nutritional science part, a nutritional passion. For those 4 years, I lived as a raw foodist.
What is that?
So
Sorry.
a vegan raw foodist means you don't eat no cooked food. So nothing that fire heats up or touches, nothing.
What?
So only fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, and that's it. And
you lived for 4 years off nothing cooked.
Nothing cooked.
Fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds. That's it.
Yeah, basically. And
no tea?
No hot.
No hot. Anything.
No hot. Tea was a tree once in a while. We might have had a chamomile tea once in a while.
Okay. All right. Wow.
So
how do you even start this? Like, why did you start that? Was he living like that?
He was a raw foodist. He was a long time raw foodist and vegan, right? So it's kind of like no animal products and nothing cooked. And he was eclectic.
That. You're eclectic, dude.
He was eclectic.
Dude, you're eclectic. I'm like, what are you talking about? You want to crew a ship? This is insane. I'm like, what kind of life are you living?
I don't know. It's a bit of a dream sometimes.
Yeah. I was just telling Sienna, like, she's like, oh, how's it been? I'm like, oh, it's like a nightmare. She's like, nightmare? I'm like, yeah, one of those nightmares that you never want to wake up from.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I got to see what happens next. I'm like, that's what it feels like I'm living right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really cool. So, okay, so you meet this raw foodist guy, and I didn't even think that was possible. I hate cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that sounds like a dream to me.
Yeah, I lived 4 years on that.
Okay.
Well, and basically the regimen was a lot of green juicing, a lot of green style smoothies, low glycemic diet, so we're not even eating high sugar fruits, and trying to live in that way. And I was saying he's a bit eclectic like that, so that was seen as the highest ideal of diet.
Wow.
And the thing to strive towards. And in order to do it, it takes a hell of a lot of mental power.
Yeah.
You don't realize it. It's okay to do it for a day, but with years comes a lot of cravings and a lot of foods your mother, your father, your family makes, things you're used to.
Yeah.
You go to family gatherings, you can't eat that stuff, right? So you make a lot of your own food. But
so why did you commit? Why did you commit to that? Because like when you're not with him, you could have eaten anything.
Oh yeah, it wasn't because of any sort of bond to him. Okay. It was more so because through the research, through the books, through all of that, I came to believe also that this was one of the highest ideals. Now, here's the thing is, it can be really, really beneficial for healing the human body, especially in cases of disease, in cases of healing and detoxification and so on. The other thing that really fuels it is that if you're living in a warm country, you have better access to those fruits and vegetables and all that, right? Try to do that in today's weather. It's very difficult. You want warm food.
Yeah.
But when you're living in an African country like that, or in California or something, right, you can do it. And then your fruits and vegetables are more local, and therefore they're more mineral rich, and they're harvested ripe. So there's a lot more of that. So it's easier, one, but it's also healthier for you.
Okay.
So I did it because I felt amazing for that time. I felt great. You start realizing what the burden of the digestion is. And that digestion is the activity that you do with your body that is the single most energy consuming activity. That's why you eat a heavy meal, you find that you kind of shut down, or you get sleepy, or you get tired, or you eat too much of a heavy lunch and then you want to take an afternoon nap, right? All of that is digestion. So yeah, because you have it on paper and because you feel it, you kind of become ingrained with that, right?
Understood.
So within those years, I learned a lot. We would take people around Morocco. We would, show them the country, and then, pick from fresh fruits and teach them how to do juicing and how to make salads and that kind of thing. So it became a bit of it became the foundation for what we have. We have a business today. It's called Seven Tree. And it's basically like a travel business where my wife and I, we take groups of people to these kind of remote places of the world.
Sign me up.
Right?
Sign me up. I'm there.
And when we teach them yoga and nutrition, and we do workshops, and we do adventure travel and health and rejuvenation. So that is kind of where that love for that began, because you can have a really powerful, like, travel is already quite a powerful mind altering experience. Yeah. But when you do it and you can, rather than traveling to a big city and just doing all the stuff that we do here, except it's in a big city, when you go and you travel and you explore the farms and you taste the fruit and you feel the earth and you can do all those things, it can be life changing. 100%. I mean, it has been for me. So that vehicle became kind of a permeation of the things that we do and why we do them this way in the few businesses that we have.
All right. So you're in Morocco, in Riyadh, eating raw fruits and raw veggies, but now you're in Oakville.
Yeah.
How did you even get back? When did you get back? What?
Yeah. So okay. So So before I moved to Ottawa, I used to live in Oakville.
Okay.
And when I lived in Oakville, my wife and her family lived 2 doors down from me.
Was she your wife at the time?
No.
Okay.
I was too young for that.
Okay.
But she was my best friend's. She was my sister's best friend.
Your sister's best friend. This is a girl next door.
Yeah, basically. Okay. I didn't know much of her because I was too caught up in my own things in those years.
Dude, I'm trying to do a 360. I'm looking at girls, man.
Yeah. Like, really? That's kind of the second priority. So what had happened is that because of the period of time I lived in Morocco, every once in a while I had to come back to the country to renew my visa, and then I would go back.
Okay.
On one of those years, I came back here and I spent maybe 2 to 3 months. And I was running a juice bar in Toronto. You know Sunnyside Park?
No.
Sunnyside Park in front of High Park, but on the lake.
Okay.
So Sunnyside Park, a friend of mine had the selling concessions there, and we opened up a juice bar for the summer.
Cool.
In a truck.
How old are you at this time, roughly?
I don't know, 19 maybe.
19, okay.
Yeah, something like that. So maybe 19, 20 maybe.
All right.
So selling juices, whatever, at that time. And then I remember I'm in the truck, we're making juices, smoothies, we're selling them, and this thought comes to mind, because this mentor or nutritional influence of mine at the time, he always taught me that, it's the movement, the nutrition is only one part of it. He says, I can't teach you the other stuff. He says, I don't really know, because I know a couple of things in yoga, but I really think you should look at yoga, you should look at martial arts, you should look at Tai Chi, you should look at these things. And these things are what's going to help, bring you to the next level, kind of thing. And I remember sitting there and I'm preparing some food or whatever, and then it came to my mind that years prior, my sister had told me that her best friend's father was a teacher of martial arts. So I called my sister right there and then. I'm like, hey, did you tell me that your sister's best friend taught martial arts? Because I'd be looking
as you're packaging
this is as I'm like cutting ingredients, making, we call it raw soups and making stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and then she goes, yeah, he is. Let me give you his number, this and that. So I call him up and I say, hey, my sister has told me that you teach martial arts and I'd like to learn. I didn't know the systems. I didn't know nothing. And he kind of chuckles a little bit. He's like, yeah, he goes, your sister's a good friend of our family. He goes, I don't really teach beginners, but your sister is like family. So why don't you come and see me? And then I met my father-in-law.
This is Sienna. This is Sienna's dad.
Yeah,
Wow.
basically.
Okay. And Sienna's, just for clarification, Sienna's not his wife. Sienna is
His daughter.
his daughter, a wife's sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
There we go.
So
I'm learning. I'm getting introduced.
Yeah. You're gonna get real confused in a few minutes.
Oh yeah, it gets better, eh? By the way, how's this mic? I see you leaning forward.
No, I'm good. Higher? I'm good. No,
okay.
if it's good for you.
All right. Hey, it's good for me. How are we sounding, Lee? I mean, Lee will let us know in a second, but if we want to bring it a little closer, I'm sure we can. All right, perfect. You mind if I get a refill as well?
Yeah.
Thanks so much, boss. Appreciate you. All right, so you say I'm ready for my Tai Chi lesson. It's funny. There's an old Chinese guy in my condo, and I see him. I go to the gym in the morning, and he's doing Tai Chi. He said he wanted to be my Tai Chi instructor. He said, "Come to the gym tomorrow at 7 a.m." I got there. He wasn't there. I was pissed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now he's in Singapore for 6 months, and I'm like, damn, man. I gotta see you when you get back.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So you want to learn Tai Chi, eh?
Yeah, so I go over there, and he explains to me the couple of systems that he teaches. And one of them is Wing Chun, and one of them is Tai Chi, but it's the system we practice is Hong Chuan Chen Shi Tai Chi. So it's a specific lineage, a specific family style lineage. So I'm like, yeah, I'd love to learn. And over the next couple months, as I'm doing this, as I'm learning the system, I'm really, really enjoying it.
Okay.
And I develop quite a good friendship with him, and this man's got all types of wisdom and teachings that he's imparting on me. And then I'm taking it beyond just I'm coming to class kind of thing. I end up going there and doing a little landscaping, planting some trees, spending some kind of casual time as well as doing the classes. But my time's up. I got to go back to Morocco, so I get out of there and I go back to Morocco and I teach what I've learned. And my thought is I'll be back in a year from now and I'll continue and just do it at that pace.
Yeah.
And
dude, you are so interesting.
So
you need a dose of keys, man. You're like the most interesting man in the world.
I don't know about that. I think there's a lot of very interesting stories out there. There's no way I could take the cake.
Hey, man, but this is definitely worth a slice, man. I don't know if you'll take the whole cake, but you take something.
Yeah.
So you go to Morocco and you're teaching the raw. What did you call it?
Yeah, raw foodism.
Raw foodist. Yeah. You're teaching him some of the Tai Chi ways?
Yeah, so I'm sharing with him, and he's finding a lot of what he's been trying to get his family to adopt for a long time. He had every juicer that you could ask for, he had them. Mm-hmm. But I guess he was not having all the buy-in from the family on using it and how to use it, this and that. So I go there, and you got this juicer? What do you use it for? And it's like, it explains a few things. I'm like, we make green juice in my diet, in my diet sect, right? We make green juice. I make one. So I make it, and he loved it, right? It was a little different than I think what he had experienced.
And did you make
before.
him one of the juices that you were making downtown?
Yeah. Okay. We made those things. But the thing is, my father-in-law has been a chef making live food, not live food as in raw food, because live food can also mean raw food, but live food as in alive food that really nourishes the body.
Wow.
And so for 40 years, he's been a professional cook for that long.
Wow.
So my rudimentary skills at the time of making a juice, he liked the ingredients and the way it was made, but his method on what the nutrition influencer had was a lot of the textbook stuff, the science, right?
Okay.
But he didn't have the touch, how do you handle food?
Yeah, just didn't have there's something missing.
Yeah, how do you handle food? How do you serve it? What makes it, how can you cut and handle fruits and vegetables and food so that it's better received by the body, so that it has a different impact when you eat it, like the precision orientation. Wow. He was very, very precision oriented, and his methods. So I learned a lot of that over the next little bit. But basically, I go back. I'm in Morocco now, and then he calls me up. He's like, "Hey Phil, how's it going?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's going great. I'm just in Marrakesh, this and that." He goes, hey, what do you think about I send my son and daughter over to you in Morocco? He says they're, you know, finishing a semester at school or whatever. And he says, it looks like you're living a pretty interesting lifestyle. He goes, I'd like for them to experience some of that, right? We had developed a friendship. I was learning his systems. And so he sends his son and daughter, and like, yeah, that's fine. It says, I'll be in Spain at that time. Why don't you send them to southern Spain?
Yeah.
So they fly into southern Spain, and then they spend about 4 months with me.
Okay.
And we
4 months,
we spent about a month in southern Spain and then 3 months in Morocco. And then I took them to the Sahara Desert, and we did like sand surfing on the Sahara Desert, and we went everywhere. I showed them all, you know, the country as I would show anybody I cared for, kind of thing. And they had a great time. We had a great time. We created a really good partnership, and I developed, and that's where a relationship with my wife started. So then they kind of, you know, they went back home. And then at that time, I had been in Morocco on and off for about 4 years. And when they left, there was a bit of emptiness that I felt, you know.
Wow.
So it was kind of time. I felt at that time there was some changes happening, even for the individual that got me into nutrition with his family. There was some dynamics there happening. And then, you know, I had, and then now finally I was with people my age, right? This gentleman was much older, so I had people my age, and then, so they went back, and then, you know, my father-in-law was like, hey, why don't you come back? And, you know, so I came back to Canada, and that's how I came back. I got back to being in Oakville, got back to being Burlington, and then that's when I started these businesses under the kind of mentorship of my father-in-law. Wow. Because I didn't know nothing about business. You know, what I had was a great deal of zest and kind of
energy,
desire to learn and adapt, right? But business, dressing up, all this, you know, stuff. Presentation, speech.
You're like, dude, I was living on a farm eating raw fruit. I don't give a damn about my shirt.
When I came back, right, it's like, yeah, Phil, you know a lot about nutrition. You got to start doing speeches. I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing speeches. I don't want to do speeches. I don't stand in front of people, do speeches.
Wow.
And he's like, no, you're going to do it. He goes, and he, you know, he would always give me pointers and tell me how this is how you do it. This is what you do. And I remember I did my first nutritional speech in a little health food store down the street to, I don't know, 10, 12 people about how to grow microgreens and juicing and stuff like that. And I remember being
lit up,
pretty a little nervous about it, but then it became second nature. Between those things, between all the business advice, between all that, we started our businesses, my brother-in-law, my wife, and myself. And the first business was Rejuvenating Spring, which was, I did some nutritional consulting. We grew microgreens. You know, we imported some health food products, organic grains and seeds and nuts and dry fruits, and we packaged them up and we sold them, and we did stuff like that.
Wow. So do you remember the first time you made $100,000 in a year?
Yeah, year 2 in business.
Okay. Selling nuts.
Yeah. Well, no, but year 2, it got a little wild. So year 1, we started doing these things where we brought in these nuts and this and that, but we needed a way to package them, to sell to sell the product. So at that time, my father-in-law, who doesn't know how to use a computer but can find you anything you want on the internet, I don't know how he does it really, but it's like he almost has he doesn't want to know how to really learn the computer ways. It should work his way. Yeah. Right. I'm like it's, but he's like that. But then you ask him to find you something. I have a hard time finding this. Like, hey, you have all your references and contacts by the end of the day. Wow. So at that time, I had gone to a little farmer's market here in Toronto. We were just packaging them in whatever bags we found at the time. But I saw these standing pouches. Somebody was selling some kind of granola in them. I'm like, I'll buy a bag, and I took it home. And like, that's, this is the way we should be presenting our product. It looks really good like that. And but I don't know where to get them. So we found this business, and it was just a guy that brought some product from India. You had in his basement. We went there. We cleared him out as usual fashion. My father-in-law goes there. How much for the batch? Yeah, okay. and just take it.
So I'll take the whole thing.
Yeah, I take the whole.
I'll take
thing.
everything you got.
I'm like, I don't need that much. I
And
only
what was
need
it? What was it? Packaging? Was it foods?
Yeah,
Like,
it was just packaging. It was just bags,
you just
clear
said
bags, this size, that size. I'm like, I don't need all that.
You just said I'm gonna take every package that you have, every one of them. I'll take them.
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I'll take. It wasn't that much, but it was, it was a couple of $1,000 at that time. I thought it was a lot. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we bought it, and then that guy ran out, and then we started consuming it. We liked it. So anyways, he through phone calls to India. So they're from Himachal Pradesh. My extended family are essentially from the south of Himalayas in India.
Okay.
So it's a province called Himachal Pradesh. And so he starts making phone calls and contacts of a contact of a contact. Anyways, we find a facility in India. It's two brothers that inherited a family business. It was an old printing press. It was an old lamination machine. It was a couple old pouching machines, and they were trying to start up a business doing export, making this kind of pouches. They didn't have anybody to really sell in Canada or the US or whatever. And so anyways, he talks to them for a bit in the dialect, and like, hey, Phil, I think we should bring in a container load of this stuff. I'm like, what do you mean a container load? I said, I just want 500 bags, clear on one side and gold on the other side.
And what are you selling at this time? What's like the core product for you? It's nuts?
It's like, and we're not selling a lot of it either, but it's like nuts and seeds and sprouting seeds and dry fruit and things like dates and figs and cranberries and that kind of thing, right?
So like all these fruits that you used to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I had a hard time creating a nutrition business. Like when you think, a lot of people create snack foods, right? Snack food is kind of the go-to. People want to start a food business nowadays. It's all about creating snack foods. I had a hard time because for me, with the raw food mentality, it was processing to some extent. Right, I didn't want to process the foods.
So you just want to give them the tree.
I just wanted to teach them how to eat it and be like, this is how you do it. I don't want to process it. It was going against my morals. I'm like, I can't do it. How can I sell something to someone I don't believe in? So anyways, I'm like, I want 500. He says, talk with them. He says, they're going to put together a container load of what they think is the best selling items. They're going to ship it to you. Here's $30,000. Go to the bank, wire it to India.
Wow.
And bring in this container load. Wow. He says, you start your business with this.
Wow. He must have really believed in you, man.
Yeah. I think he took some risks with some calculated risk.
Calculated
risk. I
so
think.
This guy,
I think he's got a good.
He's got a good picker. Eh?
Yeah. I think he knew what he was doing in his own ways.
All right. He had a plan.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to know some stuff that most people don't. So.
Yeah.
Looks like
he's my mentor to this date.
Looks
and
like he made a good decision.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have built any of this if it wasn't for him. So.
Yeah.
So we now, okay, fast forward a few months, we get this container load bag. It comes in a 20-foot container full of pouches. But we put it in one of our outbuildings at the farm and be like, okay, what are we gonna do? And then we start our company at that time. It was called Swiss Pack. Huh. And we had these bags, different sizes, different colors. Mm-hmm. He sat in our warehouse. We made a very basic website. We started calling tea and coffee companies and selling this product. There was a lot of tea companies that needed bags of different sizes, different colors to put all their different teas in it. Mm-hmm. Same with coffee, same with snacks and granolas and whatever.
Yeah. Wow. So all of a sudden you went from selling nuts to now you're selling packages.
Basically, I'm selling packages.
And when he ordered $30,000 worth of packages, was that the plan? Were you like, I'm going to sell packages? Or were you expecting, I don't need this many packages for my own stuff. What am I going to do with all this?
Well, yeah. So by the time we ordered it, it was kind of like, hey, Phil, you'll have enough to pack whatever you want to pack, and you can try selling the packages. So it's kind of like we could do both.
A little bit of both.
Right? We do both. But the reality of it is that the nutrition business, because it was only ingredients, it was limited in its ability to scale in a way.
Yeah.
At the time, with the mindset and the way we did it. So whereas the packages, it was like a very wide audience, because the reason we weren't able to find it really in Canada, other than this guy with his basement, is because it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So there was some guys in the US and there was some guys offshore. So all the people locally that needed this kind of packaging were doing some cross-border importing of some sorts.
Hmm.
So that's basically what started. So basically by year one of that business is when we did 100K, I think.
Nice. That's exciting. So now you're at this point where, okay, you're like, my nuts ain't selling.
No, by this point I'm like, I'll eat the nuts and I'll sell the bags.
Yeah. I'll eat the nuts and I'll sell the bags. Okay, so you're probably like, oh my gosh, I'm pivoting right now. Like something's happening. You know, something's changing, or you just rolling with the punches. You're like, yeah, I'm a bag salesman now. Like I'm the guy.
Yeah, no, I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm just thinking I got a product,
Mm-hmm.
people need it, and I'm learning something. But by this time I'm still selling some of my products, right?
Okay.
Like that business is still alive. I'm still doing the nutritional seminars.
Okay.
I'm still selling that product. I'm also selling the bags. We're doing a variety of things, because the entire mindset that he taught me at the time was, Phil, you got to have this yes mentality. So every time when you scale a business, he says, basically, don't do it out of passion. Don't start a business out of the stuff you like, that you think you're passionate about. Basically, people are going to keep coming to you for things. So today you're doing nuts, tomorrow you're doing bags, next day you're opening a restaurant. He says,
wait, you opened a restaurant?
Yeah, we opened a restaurant.
What the dude? Who are you? Okay,
all
right.
So basically, the mentality goes with, you got to have a yes mentality, and that yes mentality basically is all about hospitality, because he comes from the hospitality background. It was all about servicing customers, providing great service, and having, yes, can you do that? Yes, I can do that. So that's how it became from, some guy buying black bags from us to pack his spices to, man, it's such a pain in the ass to pack this spice. Can you guys do it? And my father, without even consulting, yeah, of course we can do that.
Of course,
we can do everything.
Anything you think.
Yeah, you want cheese on your way out? Yeah, of course we can do that too. So that's why, actually, it's funny. Even just day before yesterday, I get an email from someone saying, I remember my wife and I picked up from your farm in 2014, and it was such a nice farm, and you got such nice treatment, because that's how it was. His philosophy was all around creating genuine human connection, and it didn't have to do with anything profit related.
Wow.
He didn't care.
Yeah.
It would walk away with stuff. Like essentially, if you had calculated your cost, and you'd be at a loss, but he didn't think like that. He was like, we're going to do it for the sake of building relationship. Let profit happen in a second, third, fourth encounter. But right now, let's just give these people a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful experience.
Wow. Let's
connect with people, and those people have followed us, through the ages after that.
I know.
Right? So it's quite.
It's an interesting philosophy.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I see why you kind of gravitated towards this teaching. If they sound like this,
yeah,
I could see it being something different than what you're hearing normally to make you want to pay more attention.
Yeah.
Especially if he's gotten the results that it is that you're looking for, or is doing something that you look up to or respect. I could really see that being a big influence on you. So,
yeah, for sure.
So now how did things grow from there? You remember the first time you guys did 100K in a month?
Yeah.
So now this is not year 2 anymore. You probably had to figure out what it was that you were selling, how you were doing it, etc. I'd love to hear how it kind of grew from there.
Yeah. So basically, we went from selling a few bags to, these guys got their presses online, and now we can start offering printed packaging. So, but the thing is, it was all done with old-fashioned print ways, the conventional print ways, if you will, which is you have printing cylinders, and then you need to load them up to your machine. You need to create print cylinders. So if I want to print your face and put it on a bag,
you should.
And I might.
Yeah.
And actually, have we done that? Do we have a custom bag for these guys? No, they should have.
What should we call it?
All everybody that steps in here gets custom bags.
No way.
You should text Soek, see if you can make that happen.
You think they can make that happen this fast? Should we get them exported in
JPEG? We're fast.
You're fast.
We're fast. No, it would be your name at this point, but we can make your bag. We can put your face
name. No good.
Yeah.
It's got to be the face.
It's got to be a face.
Big hair popping up top and everything.
We'll take one of these pictures with us that you guys have taken today. We'll put them on and ship
let's
you
do one together. How about that?
Okay.
And we'll call it the I don't know. We'll make something cool though.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
now things are growing. So these guys get their press online, and now all of a sudden you guys are doing printed packaging.
Yeah, so we're offering this printed packaging. The problem with it is that we're offering it, but it's 10,000 minimum order per design.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, again, most of our clients at this point, the small businesses, the ones that were able to sum up the quantity, the courage, or the funds to do 10,000, we found that they often didn't have that recurring ordering cycle, because as a tea company, you don't have one tea, you have 100 teas, you have 50 teas. So either you have to do a generic bag, and then you guys still put your labels on it,
Yeah.
right? Or a coffee company, you don't have one, you have a bunch of coffees. You have decaf, and then you have your
Colombian,
whatever,
Arabica
different imports.
The maca root. Yeah. So,
The maca root, yeah. So you have all these things. So we found that the ones that ordered the printed bags that way often didn't reorder, because by the time they went to reorder, the information, the branding, anything that might have happened on the packaging might have been outdated.
Yeah.
And now they need to change it up. And now it was a whole new set of cylinders and stuff. So that was $2,000-$3,000, another upfront setup fee, and so on.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was an area that was growing, but there was some issues with it.
So how did you? Okay, so keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, and then we added the co-packaging aspect of it. So we started doing the packing for spices and teas and ingredient products and matcha and things of that nature. And then we started also doing some small scale label printing, because most of the bags we had in stock were just plain bags. So we started doing some small scale label printing that we could apply the labels on the pouches for the customers. That way they don't get them plain, they get them labeled.
Which is a huge value add for them.
Yeah, it was a great value add. And then after that, we also we added a creative services side of it. Like, okay, well, if you want us to print your label, somebody's creating that art file somewhere.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that for you as well?
Okay.
And so we added all those things at a kind of a very light scale, but that allowed us to grow and get to that, $100 grand in a month kind of thing.
All right, so let's dive in for a second. So there's a couple pieces that I kind of want to dive into a little bit deeper. The demand for the creative services, more so not why creative services, but more of like a how to know when to start evolving. And there was something that you mentioned previously with it was the adapting and kind of like where you went from there. So the MOQs were 10,000.
Yeah.
Right. The minimum order quantities, 10,000. These companies, they're not really, they don't have the courage. They don't have the capitalization. They don't have the funds. They don't necessarily are ready. They're not necessarily ready to make that jump. Oh, they don't have the recurring business we don't have the recurring business from them. Yeah. So when you start thinking about pivots, how did you kind of pivot that?
So the big changing moment for this was 2016.
Okay.
And leading up to it, 2014 to 2016 were very instrumental. So we had grown quite a bit in those years. And in 2014, 2015, HP, Hewlett-Packard announced a big new product offering, and it was called the HP Indigo 20,000. And what that was a digital printing press that, rather than printing 13 inches wide, which is standard kind of label stock, was now printing 30 inches wide.
Okay.
Now this was a massive.
This is game changing. This is innovation.
This was huge innovation.
Really?
Huge innovation.
So you're like on the market, like, where's the newest printer? What new printers are coming out? You got that 2014 printer? It's like, I got the E-Class printer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It was like that. It was the most expensive digital press.
And what's the going rate on a digital press these days? Or back in 2014?
It was $2 million.
Okay.
It was $2 million to buy it. It was way more than we could afford.
Yeah. But I mean, still worth $30,000 worth of packaging, right? But like you guys
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this meant that not only are we printing, but then we need to laminate, and then we need to slit the material, and then we need to pouch convert. So the whole thing is not $2 million. It's $2 million, and then $500,000, and then $500,000, and then another $500,000 as a basic operation to make flexible packaging. Because people mostly think, they see a pouch and they think, oh, you're printing that pouch. Well, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
We're taking raw materials and everything gets made from rolls, and eventually we fold that roll and we make a pouch out of it.
Wow.
So it's not as easy as like, a pouch coming out of a desktop printer, if you will.
Really? I thought it was it. I thought you just said
Print me a pouch,
print,
gone.
boom, just like that.
Yeah. You have to come on the floor to see it.
We might have to do a tour.
Yeah.
But so now how long were you thinking about, should I buy this new printer or not?
So I went to the Chicago PACX. I met a rep there. They were doing a demo. It was brand new. It was a beta thing. Company in the U.S. had spoken for the first one, and the guy, I guess the guy thought he would stump me. So they had like some tests on like, can you tell which one's digital, and can you versus conventional print, can you tell this, that, and basically I passed all the tests.
All of them. Okay.
And anyway, so he kind of took my contact information, this and that, and then I swear for 2 years this guy tried to sell me this press, and I kept telling him like, it's too much money, you can never get there, we're looking at some alternatives, like an Epson press is like $300K.
But is that's still the 12-inch, not the 30-inch?
No, it's still exactly.
Okay.
So we were thinking, okay, maybe we don't do flex pack. Maybe we just get into better quality label printing, because our label printers were pretty.
So you were thinking about
shabby.
this. You're at this crossroad for like 2 years. So I can't open up my fist. So you're at this crossroad for 2 years.
Yeah, basically. Well, it's not like it's stopping us from progressing. Our business is still growing nicely. We're experiencing maybe 35% year over year.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of like, do we continue with what we're doing? By this point, we're importing packaging on the regular. It's coming in, we're stocking it. We kind of got a good program going, product coming in, product coming out. But I could see that it's not the future. The future of it, the customers at that time, they wanted shorter runs. They wanted, so the reason why some of them, some of them had the resources and they would buy the custom packaging with a 10,000 minimum order and big deal. They could sum up that, but that was a small percentage of our customers. Most of our customers were small companies, and they couldn't. But some of them would, just because a printed bag would allow them to compete
on a different scale.
Go to the supermarket, say, I'm a big brand, or Costco or whatever. Yeah. They could actually show that. Whereas a bag with the damn label on it wouldn't do that. They were like, oh, you're a farmer's market product. We're not that interested.
Okay.
So the customers wanted that, but they didn't want to commit to plates. They didn't want to commit to large quantities. And the other thing they were big on is they wanted made in Canada. They liked that we were supporting a Canadian business, but they really wanted to know, where is it made? Was it made in China? Was it made in India? Was it made in Korea? Was it made in Japan? Right? Like all of that was always in almost every conversation that came up. So
with you, between you and customers.
Yeah, between us. Yeah, between us and customers. So anyways, this rep tries to sell us this press for a long time.
Yeah.
Eventually finds a financial mechanism by which it will work. You kind of make the deal work.
Some form of down payment plus loan structure, for example.
That's right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So they kind of have this other branch, Hewlett Packard Financial Services, and they made the numbers work, and they discounted the press a little bit, and they gave us some incentives. So I remember in my home office that day, I'm like, I'm not sure about this. I'm just putting my name to a $2 million debt.
Yeah,
like
scary, no?
Because every small business, you're personally guaranteeing your business. I'm still personally guaranteeing my business. Of course, right? It's not like when a big company falls, they don't come necessarily after the founder or the CEO for their personal stockpile.
Yeah.
So, but in this case, if this business fails, I'm personally responsible. My family's personally responsible. And to grow to that level where the bank no longer asks you for that personal guarantee takes a long time, especially when you're growing via debt. I've never taken capital from outside, so we've never taken on a partner.
Yeah.
Taken on a financing partner or diluted our equity. We've never done that. So we've only grown through debt financing, basically. Taking on debt to buy new machines, make acquisitions, and so on.
Yeah.
So anyways, he made the press work, but then I needed 2 other pieces of equipment. I didn't have the money for the other 2 pieces of equipment. or 3 pieces of equipment. So I decided, you know what?
The laminating, the cutting.
The laminating, the cutting, and then the pouching. So I said, I'm gonna do step 1, which is the printing. I'm gonna do step 4, which is the pouching.
Okay.
So again, in those days I used to go to India almost every year for a month or 2 every year, because by that time we had the relationship with those folks.
Yeah, you practically started their business too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were growing healthily by then, and so we used to go there a lot. And my wife and I are both yoga teachers, so we took yoga trainings over there.
Wow.
And we traveled there, and obviously her family's from there, so we did a lot of travels back and forth. So I had gone there. I went to visit this one machine manufacturer that is an Indian pouch machine manufacturer. We kind of settled on this one pouch machine, and we said, okay, we're going to order this one.
I'm just laughing because we're talking about pouch machines.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a cool podcast, man. We're talking about pouch machines. Yeah. Sick.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. That's the world I live in, though,
yeah,
right?
Dude. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. So what did you do today, honey? I was just talking with my friend about pouch machines, so just regular stuff, Yeah.
You know what? It's a hell of a lot better than talking about cars.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a hell of a lot better than talking about the coworkers that we dislike at the job that we dislike, the traffic that we dislike, and the car that we don't get paid enough money to fund.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be, dude. It could be way worse.
It certainly could.
Yeah.
It certainly
not
could.
bad. We're here drinking maca root.
Maca root. Yeah.
And eating cookies baked from a world-class baker who learned bakery in Germany.
Baked at our farm too.
So you got a farm?
Yeah.
Okay, you can tell me about that a little later. She was about to pull up pics before you walked in.
Yeah.
I was about to see what was good.
She's quick, this one.
Yeah. But anyway, so pouching. So you're in India talking to a pouch maker.
Yes, so to a pouch machine manufacturer, and we settle on one, and we order it basically.
Okay.
So just to wrap this chapter up,
please.
Basically, 2016, we've ordered this pouch machine. We're at the same time we're in construction of a building to house this pouch machine.
Okay.
And to do some of the co-packing work and just generally expand our business.
Yeah.
We're also growing microgreens at the times because we started, all our businesses are expanding nicely.
Okay.
So we build this building, like we can grow our microgreens in here, we can have our pouch machine in here, we can do our co-packing in here, we can do all this stuff. So pouch machine arrives in May.
Okay.
Printing press arrives in May.
Okay. This is a big summer.
My son was born also in 2016,
Wow.
and we opened our restaurant.
Wow.
So anyways, all this stuff happens at that time. But what happens is, in the year leading up to it, I was talking to those partners of ours in India. I'm like, hey, it's a big concern of our customers that we should have some capacity of manufacturing in Canada. So we want to install something basic. And basically the two guys over there are like, yeah, this is a great idea. You should do it. Just have a small scale manufacturing in Canada, that will help us fuel the bigger volumes to India, and help people graduate. So if they order smaller volumes from you, then they can order the larger volumes from India. You can keep supplying the stock bag program. So they were like very actively discussing this thing with us.
Wow, so it's almost like you partnered with them.
Yeah, we had a really good relationship with them at that time. And so we do all of this. So I told them about the press, and they're like, oh, we could never order that press in India because our interest rates are huge, and the press price is a lot, and it wouldn't work for Indian market. So they're like, you should order it in Canada if it works. So anyways, we have all these discussions. Anyways, by the time May comes, we're starting to install these machines in our building, and I start getting a couple of emails and a couple of phone calls one day. Like, hey Phil, we've been reached out to by this company in Canada. They're telling us that they're the new Swisspac. And they're telling us to forward them our invoices, and that they have our product, and that they just have to pay us the balance, and they can pick up the product. So it's like, what the hell is that? But the thing is, this is the summary. Like, so all the emails I got, 3-4 emails, a couple phone calls, they all had the same tones. They all kind of said the same thing.
Yeah.
So I look at so they forward me the emails, obviously. So I look on it. I call the number. This guy picks up the phone, and I recognize the name. And the name is the owner from that plant in India. While staying in my home, while I was in Canada for a while, I remember I dropped him off to one of his friends in Mississauga one evening. He says he wanted to go see a childhood friend, whatever. So I dropped him off there and brought him back. I don't know if he stayed with us maybe a few days or a week, right? Yeah. I recognized the name. Oh, that's the guy's name. So anyways, they went behind my back. They created their own subsidiary here. I guess the guy saw that we were growing, and maybe he felt, oh, they have enough money now to buy these machines. Maybe we want a bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah, which leads, it's always the source of all problems.
It is, man.
Yeah, it's looking at what's on someone else's plate.
Greed, man. Yeah. Greed. Countless times it's happened
it's
to
like,
me.
Dude, we're at a buffet, just go get more. Like, it's okay. yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So they set this up. They tried to take our clients. Nice. They tried to set up their own version of what we did. Mm-hmm. By that time, we had these machines. We had no idea really how they worked. And we didn't have every piece of the puzzle in our facility either. Yeah. Right? We were missing some machines.
Yeah.
So 2016 became a crash course for learning how to print, learning how to do pouching, getting on an external supplier that can, once we print, they can go ahead and laminate and cut it for us, and then we bring it back and we pouch it. But that was a nightmare because this technology was fairly new at the time, and every time you went to laminate it, because so flexible packaging is multiple layers of different polymers that are glued together. Okay. And the reason you do that is, one, to achieve a certain aesthetic on the outside. Two is to protect the product from oxygen and moisture and light, depending on the requirement of the product. That's the middle layer. And then on the inside is the food contact layer to make sure there's nothing funky touching your food product. Okay. So you have to laminate these different layers together. Yeah. And nothing laminated. Everything peeled apart. Everything fell apart. We had to sometimes print jobs 4 or 5 times before the glue stuck to it and the guys figured out what to do. So we almost lost the business that year, basically.
Wow.
It was...
This is the same year your son's born.
Same year my son's born.
So you didn't look as well rested as you look today then?
I don't know. I looked pretty young when I look at those pictures back then. But... at the same time, I reached out to someone that had reached out to me for many years, a guy from China that had his own business. I'm like, listen, you've been wanting the business for a long time. I said, I need you to come through for me on this. I said, I got 6 jobs, I don't know, 5 to 10 jobs that I need done. I need them done right away, and I need them shipped to me in under 3 weeks. And the guy took them, shipped them to me under 3 weeks. So basically, for the most part, all those jobs that those guys had trying to sell to my clients at the time, we remade them and supplied them to those clients. Wow. So obviously, it costed us money, but we got to keep the customer a safe face and reestablish a different process for ourselves. Some of them we even remade in-house ourselves. With the little bit of machinery that we had. Damn. And we learned how to manufacture. We did all that, and then we entered into that phase.
Yeah, new chapter. Yeah, and that must have been tough trying to eat that, like, to stomach that cost, and think like, man, like we're about to lose our shirt on this project. Well, it's probably not a big enough project to lose the whole farm on, but it must have been something.
Well, it's enough to kind of, at the time, it would have been enough to lose the business, and losing the business would have mean incurring that debt for that machine into our names, right? So that would have been a substantial loss. Holy. And then 24. So over the course of growing the business, my father-in-law's always said, to invest in real estate, you should always invest in real estate as you go. So we had made a few real estate moves. We bought a couple of properties and
residential houses, commercial stuff that you're running. Is it?
No, they were mostly
industrial. Similar.
So the first piece of land was like a piece of agricultural land that could be developed and add a building onto it. And then after that, we bought some residential, and then after that, we bought this restaurant property, which is like 2 minutes by car from our home. Okay.
How far is this from home? This is pretty close?
Yeah, 15 minutes maybe.
Oh, nice. So this is your whole world's around here.
Yeah.
For the most part.
That's right. Okay. So so we bought that in 2014, and we kind of renovated it casually over the next couple of years, and then in 2016 we opened just right around Canada Day.
Okay, what's it called?
Terrassa restaurant.
Yeah, you guys got dinner over there or what?
Yeah, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
What do we got to order if we go for brunch?
Yeah, well, right now I'm looking to get it reopened. Basically, we closed it in the pandemic, and we're looking to get it reopened in the spring now.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll see you in the springtime then.
Yeah, you come over and check it out.
Deal.
It's very good.
Yeah, so that was the manufacturing, going a little bit deeper on the manufacturing side. Now you opened up a creative services wing in that same period of time, and it was just because of the growing demand, it was opportunity that you saw.
It was that yes comment.
Okay.
It was that yes comment.
Saying yes to it, saying
yeah, like customers calling in and can you print this, and then their art files would be all over the place, and the art files weren't good for printing. It was like, oh, what are you doing? Well, I don't have a designer, I'm doing it myself. Like, oh, and then I'm like, hey, sorry, can you not fix that art file? And be like, yeah, I can try. And like, we weren't seasoned at it by then, but it was all about how can we help the customer, how can we do that. And then also, because over the course of time we would have some designers send us art files, we started building relationship with some of those designers so we could have them on a contract basis to do work as our own creative agency work, right? So that's how that grew.
Now you mentioned like getting up to 2014 to 2016, like there was 35% growth year over year.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think made you so special that you're growing at that rate? Like, what was it that led to that? Like what are you guys doing to grow at this time? Not this time as in today, but this time as in like 2014.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, we had a really bad website.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, plot twist. My father-in-law is a web developer and an SEO wizard. I'm like, this is the man that does everything.
No,
maybe we should get him on the show.
Yeah, maybe we should. No, we didn't do any advertising, in the typical fashion. Mm-hmm. We didn't have such a good website. What we did do is we did these trade shows. At trade shows, we did the Canadian Health Food Association show, we did the coffee and tea shows, we did the CL show, we did a lot of shows that were where we would find a lot of our customers over the course of time.
Okay.
And that was really good. Companies start seeing us there, start seeing the professionalism and trying to elevate a little bit what we were doing. Obviously we were small at the time, but I think that was a big driver. The presence at trade shows was a big driver of how we grew. And also in those days, we do everything, right? Like whether it's me or my brother-in-law or somebody else, we're doing sales, we're doing the billing, we're doing the trade show, we're doing the delivery, we're doing all those things. And when you do all those things, you can really control and ensure best result everywhere. So it's actually almost easier to grow in a way, in that way. So I think that the natural demand for the product was there. There certainly was a product market fit, and there was a gap. Mm-hmm. Because the only Canadian companies that would sell packaging are the type of packaging that we sell in those days. They only wanted 20 to 25,000 per SKU. Mm-hmm. Otherwise you went to China. And so to buy a small amount of packaging, you went to the States, like I said, or you went to China yourself. So there was a gap. The small to medium-sized businesses, they weren't serviced.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So the fact that you had that, the fact that we were at trade shows, the fact that we had, I think we also had a bit of an aura around what we did ourselves, because we weren't your typical,
Dude, you're not regular.
Typical business fashion. We built business over relationship.
Yeah.
We didn't care about business in a traditional sense.
Yeah. It sounds like you just cared about providing a meaningful experience.
Yeah.
A memorable experience, a nice experience for whoever it was that was experiencing whatever it was that you were doing.
Yeah.
So 2016 comes to a close. You end up getting your laminate machine. You end up getting your poucher.
I didn't get my laminator by then, but we survived 2016. We opened the restaurant. We installed these machines. We kind of made it through, and then 2017 comes around. By that time, we're well installed in the new building.
That's
but
still
obviously,
not this building though.
no, it's not this building. So in the spring of 2017, I go to Interpack in Germany. By that time, there's a brand new technology that came out. It's called thermal lamination.
Okay.
And this thermal lamination machine for flexible packaging was a novel idea. It was an old idea, but was novel in the way that it was repackaged up and addressed specific to digital printing for flex pack. And we bought the first one worldwide, beta.
Okay.
We made a deal to buy it, and we bought it. So that was installed a little bit after, and then we bought the slitter that same year. So in 2017, we were able to kind of go and complete that supply chain issue, because the business model was really built around delivering fast. The small company, so you can go anywhere and you can order 20,000 bags and you can wait 8 to 10 to 16 weeks. That's the traditional model in this business. Our business model with digital, we installed that press, is that there's no printing plates. You can print whatever quantity you want. It looks amazing, but it should be delivered fast. By sending my product out for lamination and cutting, whatever, and bringing it back, we're losing that value of we can make it quick. We have two pieces of technology that allows us to make it quick, but the fact that we just don't have the money to buy the machine is making this very slow.
Yeah.
So we bought that machine, and now we were able to bring it back to what we wanted to, which is order printed packaging, 2-week turnaround time. It's delivered to you. Basically, we didn't want to have any technological limitations to making product today. So if you came here and you gave me that photo in the morning, and then I'd have your printed bag.
Yeah, like you said, we got speed.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool.
And so I didn't want to have any of those limitations. Like the limitations are real in that world. The reason they do take 16 weeks is because they order the material specific to your order. Then they order the printing plate specific to your designs. And then they print, and then it's got to cure, and then they laminate, and it's got to cure. And I don't want none of that. It has to be live. Speed. We have to have the material on hand. We customize, we standardized everything. Which gave us parameters by which we could customize everything, but do it at speed.
Okay.
So that's what we did in 2017. We added those missing pieces of the puzzle. 2018, and then somewhere in between there, we rebranded to Rootree.
From
Swiss Pack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's where it really started shifting.
Yeah. So and that's where the company, like up until the time we were manufacturing ourselves, we were under, the purchasing and manufacturing criteria or control of others. We couldn't control really what materials, how they did it. I remember I had asked for compostable options for like 5 years and couldn't care about it. I'd asked for better recyclable options, couldn't care about it. So when 2016 came around, that was one of the first things I did. Within the year 2016, even as we kind of, had a tough year, we launched our first version of home compostable packaging. Didn't exist in those days. It was the first of its kind. It was digitally printed. It was available to any company, regardless of size. It was the most, kind of natural pouch you could have purchased. Wow. And since then we've redeveloped it 3-4 times to continuously upgrade it, make it better. So we were able to really infuse our spirit and our philosophies and our beliefs into the business at that time, taking now ownership of the manufacturing. So we rebranded to Rootree, and the idea was we're not a packaging company. We're more than a packaging company. We are there to allow creativity to materialize. So you have an idea, you want to launch a product, you're passionate about coffee and you want to launch your own coffee brand. I want to let your creativity design it. It's going to cost you no plates, no fancy, nothing. We're going to print it. You're going to design it. We're going to print it. We're going to pack it, and you're going to have a product. So fueling this new age idea that to run a business, you don't need a facility like this. You want to create amazing product. You don't need to go through all the burden of buying these machines or having big quantities or having a ton of capital, you can actually let that creativity run wild. And you can let the smallest of players compete with the biggest brands. If you have a great idea, if you have a great product, nothing else is going to stop you. Have a great product, have a great idea, and the rest, we can make it happen for you.
All you got to do is go to Rootree.com and then you're good to go.
Yeah, don't go to Rootree.com. That's a hair salon in Japan. I'm trying to get that domain. But .ca is mine, yeah.
There you go. So all you got to do is go to Rootree.ca and you're ready to party. So you rebranded from Swisspac to Rootree. So what is the meaning? Like, why Rootree?
That's a long question.
It's a long question.
Yeah, but I'd love to answer it.
Please.
So, in the martial arts system that we practice, and
all right,
and it's important to talk about it, because this martial art philosophy, which is not really meant around fighting, it's more a health movement systems. It permeates our life. These concepts, philosophies permeate our lives. They're not like an activity. Hey, I go to soccer on Wednesday nights. It's not like that. Or I go to, the gym every 2 days. It's not like that for us. It's the systems, we live by them. And the difference with them is they have deeply ingrained philosophies that they sit on. So you don't have to be practicing the movement to practice the system, because you can practice the philosophy and you're still practicing the system.
Okay.
So, and some of those philosophies revolve around connecting to the earth. So the tree in itself, the tree in itself reaches, right? So the roots reach down and they harvest the water, the nutrients from the earth, right? And it reaches up. So the tree, and essentially it's like the human. It's standing vertical. It's connecting the earth to the heavens. It's providing habitat, right? So the tree doesn't really choose who it's providing habitat for. It's just providing habitat. It provides you shelter, provides you shade. It also gives fruit, and that fruit, in the law of nature, is abundance. You don't see a tree with one leaf. If you do, it's likely dying or it's end of the season. You don't usually see a healthy tree with one fruit. If you do, that tree is sick. Otherwise, that tree is producing a lot of fruit. Everything in nature is abundance, is about abundance. And that goes into the mentality, the abundance mentality. You don't ever want to have a poverty mentality, we call it. You want to have abundant mentality, because that's the way nature intended for you to live.
Wow.
So the tree in itself has many fruits, and I can't tell you exactly really what our business model is today, because it still lives very much by that. Yes, like we started a film production agency, a couple of years back. Like there's no business model case or business case that tells you that this is the next natural stage in this business. It's a fruit, it's a branch, it's something that evolves from the same core, and the core is the philosophies and the principles we live by. So in the movements that we practice, there's a lot of creating a strong foundation. So that foundation, and that tree can only get that foundation by remaining still. So you need to learn movement via stillness, and stillness via movement. But if you keep transplanting that tree and transplanting that tree and transplanting that tree, it never develops that root system, and it'll never grow to that strong, sturdy tree that we all like to look at, right?
Yeah, you're just gonna have one fruit.
So it's about also the branch. So the branch of the tree is standing up, is erecting its branch, its arm out there. It never strains. The bird sits on it.
Your swing hangs from
the squirrel goes on it. You sit on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So there's no strain. So in the systems that we practice, it's not about physicality. It's about structural strength.
Wow.
That tree is standing there all day, every day for the next 50, 100 years that it's standing there. It never gets strained. So it's about developing movement where there's no strain, or developing business that grows naturally. Wow. And that's what I call trying to achieve holistic success or holistic business practice.
Wow.
So there's a variety of concepts there. I'm just kind of going over them,
That's
but
okay.
the
Dude, it's your show.
So from the shade that it provides and the refuge it provides, from the fruit that it gives you, which is, you could say, the pouches, the product, or the videos, or the films,
Yeah.
to the reason why we called flavor films flavor, because of that.
Fruit flavor.
Yeah, because of that flavor. It's just is very relatable to who we are as a group of people behind this company.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah, somewhat.
Something like that. How long were you thinking about the rebranding from Swisspack? Probably a while, no?
We thought about the rebranding for maybe about 6 months.
Okay. So not as long as the printing machine.
No. We thought about changing the name for a few years, just like top of mind.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something we got into, and then when we started thinking about names, I think it was about 6 months until we changed it.
Wow.
We didn't want to be the packaging company, because we saw that in the future we would be a lot more than that.
And it's cool to see grow. And I know I'm only seeing a glimpse, right? But I could only imagine, especially from even this interview alone, like I'm starting to see some different nuances of you, some different nuances of the company and the things that you're building. And I think it's really inspiring. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You remember the first time you guys did 100 in a day?
Yeah, not every day is 100, but I think that
Not yet.
not yet anyways, but yeah, somewhere in the last 4 years was days that we experienced.
Yeah. Now, what do you think has changed? And like, what do you think it took did you even notice it? Or was it like retroactive?
Yeah, I didn't. It's not really the revenue that you notice. Like that never really had too big of an impact on me. But what you notice is the growing pains, because when you start achieving certain revenue thresholds, you start exposing the weaknesses in your organization.
Yeah.
When that tree grows, at first that bark is very smooth. Right? Very smooth. It's beautiful. You think everything looks great. But as the tree grows, that bark, and then you expose all the fissures and the cracks and all of that. So with maturity, you're gonna get that exposure. Yeah. And then it's about how do you deal with those things. So certainly as we started growing, and as you reach that revenue threshold, and as you start achieving a certain number of employees, you start realizing, okay, we've never done an org chart. Maybe we need one. Like I know my mission, vision, values very well. Does the rest of the organization know them? Wow. Yes, we know how to make all of these products and how all these machines work, but who should really the accountability of production lay on?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of growing pains over the last few years to really discover who we are as a company, because there's no real good resource that you can find to tell you, what should my salary line be for a business of my size and the business, the industry I'm in. Hell, I'm a manufacturer. I'm a service provider through co-packing, a service provider through creative services.
How much should I charge for that?
Yeah, right. Or like what all of these things have different metrics in terms of gross margins, and where should I be with the salaries, where should I be with this expense item. So you try to shape yourself into what's the ideal place to be for my business, and then what are the performance and the criterias we need to keep our eyes on in order to scale this business. And that's been a really, really amazingly interesting and educative part of building this business. And really that's what I love about the creation and the operation of the businesses is the education piece of it.
Yeah.
It makes you, I really do think it makes you a little wiser. And it's really interesting, right? I never went to school for business. Like I said, I was taught business, through like a real-time mentor, right? And then nowadays, the word mentor it kind of does get thrown around, right? With concepts of like you can have, have a lot of mentors, or find yourself a few mentors, this and that. That's not my experience. My experience is more your old school style, sensei style mentor, where you listen to what you're being told, even if you don't like it in the moment, and you adapt it, and you try to understand it, and then you see its value, and then you practice it, and then you start preaching it because you see its value. So it's so without any formal degree in business or any resources I can lean on to kind of get this information, you're continuously inventing and getting educated and figuring out what's the best path to do.
Wow.
Right. So it's like, some people ask me like, so how'd you come up with this, this way of pricing out this service that we do, or this and that? I'm like,
I said yes, or they said yes.
my business model in the beginning was always, does it make sense to me? And if it made sense to me, that's how I priced it. That's it. Simple. Does it make sense? So when somebody comes to me and they say, hey, can we do this and that, and can we price it this way? I'm like, does it make sense to you? Are you making a profit? Are you understanding your costs? No, we're not making a profit. That's okay. And sometimes you don't need to make a profit on everything. I'm not looking for this company to go on a stock exchange.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of a family business. You get to you don't have the glamour maybe of being on the stock exchange, but you sure have more liberty to do what you want to do.
Dude, you got some glamour too, man.
Yeah.
You got enough glow, enough shine, man.
So, but
awesome.
but with that, you're in this mode. So the real ethos and the spirit of what I love about business is that you get to imagine and create and get educated along the way, which is an education I don't get from anywhere else. And then we get to do the same thing for our clients. We let them imagine that they can have their own brand, and we have every tool to then make that a reality. That thing a reality for them.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for them to compete, and I think it's about that for us. It's about letting that small company have a chance at making it big, just like anybody else. And where can we plug ourselves in along the way to make that even better? Like, do they need to increase their storytelling? Do they need help with marketing? Do they need help with video? Do they need help with co-packing? Do they need help with the pouches, the design, the branding, the website? So where do we meet these customers to make the whole journey for them to elevate their product better? Awesome. Where they can, and this is a real trend, and it's one that's here to stay, is like, you have businesses get most of their marketing value from founders and CEOs doing some content online and posting about their authentic journey through business, right? That's how companies are finding the most the most bang for the buck, the most impact. So really, founders and CEOs and business owners would do really well selling their product and marketing their product. So then, in my mind, we view ourselves as, let's fill in the rest of that gap then.
Interesting.
Because I can't take that from you. You're the founder, you're the CEO, you're gonna market your product. That's how the market reacts to it. But we can take on some of that operational excellence that they need to make it come to life.
Interesting. Well, I really like your approach. I really think you have some cool philosophies and systems that you've built into, like, even on like a belief level. So I appreciate you sharing. Now, I'm curious what some of the more impact, like some of your favorite teachings, some of your favorite systems that you learned from your father-in-law. He seems like a really wise man. He seems like he's taught you a lot.
Yeah.
And there's probably some favorite lessons and favorite things that that he's taught you, but he probably doesn't know that he taught you and had this much of an impact.
Oh, he knows he's taught me. Yeah, he knows he's
okay.
taught me.
All right. I would love to hear some of them. Teach them, man. You got to share it with the next generation, man.
You ready for this?
I think. Hey, hold on. Let me get seated properly.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, Sensei. What we got?
Okay. So you know this saying that says, I don't have enough time. I don't got time for this.
Okay.
I don't got time for that. I don't got time for this. So the philosophy is time is all you got. You really don't have anything else. The clothes you're wearing, they're temporarily. Your money is going to be here, it's going to be gone. It's going to be here, it's going to be gone. It's going to fluctuate in life. Your friendships, they might fluctuate. Everything fluctuates. But time is the only currency you have. So you can never use the words, I don't have time. It's just a matter of how you utilize your time. Time is the ultimate currency, the ultimate most valuable thing on earth. And therefore, you really have to decide how you spend it. And it really revolves around the power of association. We can talk about my story today, but I can't do none of this without understanding the power of association. And power of association is just, who do you surround yourself with? You surround yourself with beautiful people, some of that bleeds onto you. You surround yourself with extremely wise people, you're going to have that. You surround yourself with cigarette smokers, you're likely going to pick up a smoke. You surround yourself with people that like going to the bar, you're going to become a bar goer. You surround yourself with athletes, you're going to become one. So power of association is super, super important. You got to decide, because time is the ultimate asset, and because from today onward, you'll never use the words, I don't have time, because you know that that's all you got. You have to decide, how do I spend that time? So now it becomes the space that you're in. So the space that you're in is where you spend the time that you are. That space is the people around you and is the physical space also that you're in. And then it goes into motion. What is your movement? What is your daily movement in your life? That movement is very important. What is your rhythm in life? So we all enjoy listening to a beautiful rhythm and to a nice music, a nice song, but the reality is most of us don't live our lives in a rhythm. We live an anywhere, any day, any time life, a random life. No fruit comes from random life. The only reason the tree bears fruit is because it has a rhythm. It has a rhythm. It goes to sleep in the winter and it comes back and it gives you blossoms. If you break that rhythm, if the winter's too long or the winter's too short, that blossom is affected. You're not going to have enough fruit or too much fruit where it's going to stress the tree, right? So the reason you have fruit is because there's a rhythm. So you have to understand that you will never bear fruit in your life unless you live it in a rhythm, and that's your movement. So you got to pay a lot of attention to these things, because these are the fundamental principles that govern life. Time, the space that you're in, and movement. What is your movement? Basically, the reason why you get to wake up every day and smile is because the sun and the planetary orbits is in a rhythm. Yeah. If tomorrow you woke up and it was 9 o'clock in the morning, it was dark outside, it would be a reason for concern. So we live off of the joy of rhythm. We, as a human being, we get approached by the rhythm. If you hear some drumming going on, it's artfully done, I'm pretty sure you're going to walk around the corner, see what the hell's going on. So as we get drawn towards that, but we ourselves break that rhythm continuously. The only reason you're alive is because your heart is beating on that rhythm. Wow. Right? But for us, it's like, today I'll start work at this time, and tomorrow I'll start work at that time, and today I'll see my wife at this time, and tomorrow I'll eat food at this time, and today I didn't eat food, and you know what? I don't need to go to the gym today, and we live our lives like this. Yeah. And what is that? That kind of erratic thing is it doesn't bear fruit. So, wow. So this is one basic philosophy. Another philosophy is that there is no such thing as independence. Okay. Right? So as a society, we put independence on a throne. Like, hey, being independent is like, the holy grail of mankind. If you can be independent, then that's great. But the reality of it is that some company makes this mic, and then some other companies made the components of this mic, and you're wearing a shirt that somebody made somewhere, and then we're drinking some water that somebody filtrated.
Someone made the glass, someone made the table.
That's it. So independence. Why do we teach independence when interdependency is really the way nature operates? So when you think about that, then you start understanding that it's about togetherness. It's about synchronicity of mind, having people aligned on a vision, on a path in life, and understanding that everybody needs to lean on each other. So this whole concept of you should not have any expectations and this and that, that concept basically is for strangers. But with family, with the people that you're close with the people that you build businesses with the people that are like fingers of a hand, right? Like try picking up this glass and go one finger, pick it up, just try, right? Enjoy. You can't pick it up unless you got two, and it makes it a lot easier. If you have five, you can do a lot. So that means that one finger is totally useless, but the five picks up the glass, or the two pick up the glass. So I think that with that in mind, the togetherness aspect is really important. So you should not have this concept of no expectations. These things are new age concepts where everybody does anything, anytime, anyhow. But really the idea is people have to live in a togetherness way, and you have to be able to rely on people in the same way that the tree relies on the rain, relies on the sun, relies on the fertilizer to give you its best product. Otherwise it might give you something, it just might not be the best product. If you want best product, you need to be able to rely on the natural systems. So I think that some of the foundational principles have to rely on living in harmony with the concepts of nature, which are often the opposite of the adopted concepps of men, which eventually just leads you to living a fruitless life that has a lot of headaches. So that's some of it, but it goes on for a while.
We'll need a spiritual awakening for the rest of them. Maybe somewhere around the world. And eating fruit from an exotic tree or something like that. And honestly, so some of the things you said were about togetherness and about time. So I appreciate you being here together with us, and appreciate you spending your time with us.
Hey, thank you.
I know it might be a little bit of a break in the rhythm, but nonetheless, man, I'm really grateful and very appreciative of you being so gracious with your time today.
I appreciate you featuring us on the show.
Oh, no, my pleasure, man. It's your show. Like I said, man, it's your show today. But the real question, not the real question, it's just another question. It will probably end on this note, but I'm kind of curious how you structure your rhythm of the day. Like what's that kind of look like? I can only imagine that you've been intentional about it. And I would love to hear what your thoughts, what your take is, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So the rhythm of the day starts always with my training.
Okay.
And my training is, one of those systems, whether it's Wing Chun, whether it's the Hong Chuan Shenzi Tai Chi, or whether it's yoga, whether it's a blend of those things. Sorry?
Nisho Zhongwen. Do you speak Chinese?
Not really, just the terms I refer to this system.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I start the day with that. We don't eat breakfast. The first thing the first consumption of the day is green vegetable juice.
Okay.
That's been the same thing in my life for the past 20 years.
Wow.
That's juice that's made with cucumber, celery, lemon, and then usually some other vegetables like a kale and coriander, ginger, something like that. So that's every day, and we do it here for the company. For a number of people here that like to drink the juice, but that's also the rhythm we have. So I do my training, I have my juice, and then I'll show up to work. Put in the hours at work, do the meetings and so on. If I'm fortunate enough, I will get some training in at some point in the afternoon. And then, you know, I try to get back home and have dinner with the family. You know, when we ran the business from the farm, the green juice to the lunch to the dinner, my whole family sits together and we have these things. We get to enjoy these things. It's a family enterprise. I got 10 members of my family in this business.
Wow.
You know, 15 of us live together.
Wow.
So it's a pretty big ordeal here. We do lunch in the same family style fashion. You know, we eat dinner around the table. So you know, it's a different lifestyle than a lot of others. But you know, my brother-in-law's got 3 kids. My partner and brother-in-law, I got 3 kids, so we live together. We got, you know, 6 kids in the house.
That's awesome.
So there's a lot of quality family time. And one thing I've been really fortunate about is that, yes, spent crazy amount of time building these businesses. My schedule was not always as it is now. But I've always been able to incorporate my family life into my business. So I've never had to be away for that. A lot of people have to put that time out, right? It's like, oh, I didn't see my kids growing for the first 10 years of running my business. Well, that was never the case for me, because the thing is, I didn't create a business to slave myself to conventional methods of thinking. I created a business so that I can create something unique that fits my lifestyle and my criteria. Wow. So, you know, just now, like, you know, we go to Japan, you know, I pull my kids out of school and they come with me and they enjoy that and they see what we're about, you know. And so I've been able to incorporate the kids and the family and generally in the business, and that's been a huge blessing for us over the course of time. So, wow. You know, and then in the evening is family time, you know, some personal pursuits. I enjoy playing the djembe drum, so I play the drum. I might do some training in the evening.
When you say training, what is this training? Like, so 50 push-ups or like what's
yeah, no, it's not too much of that. No, the training is so in both systems there's forms. Okay. So sets of movements that create these forms, and it's all about energy cultivation. So it's all about doing these movements that have been designed centuries, if not, you know, millennia ago, that are in harmony with nature, that you practice for cultivation of life force energy. And that's basically you go through those movements, and then once you live on that movement as a source of nourishment for your body, along with some of the other stellar foods that we make in the green juice, it's tough to imagine life any other way.
Well, it's very cool to get a glimpse, especially from the outside.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are foreign to me.
Yeah.
A lot of these things might be foreign to some of the guests and some of our audience, but I think that's what this is all about, right? It's like getting exposed to new ways of life, new ways of operating, new ways of thinking. And, you know, it's been an honor to at least get a glimpse into Phil's. So thank you so much. Now, if people want to learn a little bit more, I know we got Rootree.ca. Yeah. Right. But where can they learn a little bit more about you, Phil?
I guess I started about a year ago posting on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I guess you could go there. You would see some of the journey in running these few businesses and scaling and the growth and so on. So I'm having a bit of fun with that. That's probably the only place you'll see me. Otherwise, we have a lot of the business accounts and on Instagram and otherwise. So there's a lot of stuff that gets posted on those as well. So.
Beauty. Well, Phil, thank you so much for being on the show. And just give us a quick little outro. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of 100 Ways to Make 100K. On this episode, we got to feature none other than Phil St Cyr, the man of international mystery who has gone around the world, skateboarding across the country, jumping on cruise ships, working as a raw foodist. Okay. Listen, this story goes on and on and on, and it has been such an honor today to introduce him to you guys. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm Javon.ca, and we'll see you next week on another episode of 100 Ways to Make 100K. This is how Phil St Cyr made his first in a year, a month, and in a day, and many more to come. So Phil, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
And for y'all, we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.